Okie dokie. So in Unit 2, Lesson 9, Day 2. So today, make sure you have your book, page 76 and 77. Also, don't forget your notebook and something to write with. We're going to be able to explore different ways to find slope and y-intercept for our linear functions. Okay? So let's make sense of this problem. So remember, I'm going to read it first. Second time I'm going to read it, I want you to write down anything important, anything that's going to help you solve the problem, what the problem is asking, anything that you can connect, okay, from previous knowledge. So first time, just listen. Tony's taxi charges blank to pick up a passenger plus blank for each mile. Write an equation for the function that relates the total cost of a trip to the distance. Also, identify the slope and y-intercept of the function. I will read it again. This time, I want to make sure you're writing down anything that's important, anything that you need to use, what the problem is asking, and if we have multiple parts too. So be careful. Tony's taxi charges blank to pick up a passenger plus blank for each mile. Write an equation for the function that relates the total cost of a trip to the distance. Also identify the slope and y-intercept of the function. Pause my video so you can write down as many things as you heard me read and that you see. Pause. All right, 3. Are y'all ready? Let's go. Okay. So let's see what y'all pulled out. Tony's taxi charges blank to pick up a passenger. I'm probably going to need that, right? Plus blank for each mile. I think I'm going to need that too. But this is where I need your brain. Notice there's no numbers because I want you to focus on my words. It is so important that we be able to figure out what the problem is about before we have numbers. So watch what I'm going to do. Write an equation for the function that relates the total cost of the trip to the distance. This is telling me to do something. It's telling me to write an equation. I numbered it. Do you know why? Because there's also the word also. Did y'all notice and realize that this is a 2-part question? But my 2-part has 2 parts. So like 2, it says identify. So I have to identify what the slope is, and I have to identify the function. So I really have 3 things I have to do. 1, the equation. 2, what is the slope? 3, what is my y-intercept? Okay. Before I move on and give you the numbers, can we decide what our y-intercept is and what our slope is? So remember, in day 1, we talked about that the slope meant a different word that we learned in lesson 7. Yeah, that meant rate of change. Okay, that's also what's going to be multiplying. It's also going to be our m. And our y-intercept, that's where it goes through the y. We also called that the initial value, didn't we? Yep, the initial value. So when x is 0, we have a y. So think about this for a second. See if you could figure out which number is going to go with which words. Have you identified which is going to be my slope and which is going to be my y-intercept? So before we start, before that taxi drives off, I sit in my taxi. Okay, I'm not going to tell you. Nope. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the next slide, and I'm going to ask you to see if you could pull those things and try to make sense of your equation. Because this right here, this is where we're getting our equation from. So I want to know, can you find your y-intercept and slope before we break it down? Okay, let's see. There's our numbers. Pause my video. Can you write your equation? Can you figure out what your slope is and what your y-intercept is? Pause my video. Let's see how you did. Okay. So you know we're still working with y equals mx plus b, where m is we have been saying rate of change, but now we're going to start saying slope. And my b is my initial value, but we're going to call it our y-intercept. Okay? It's the same thing. I'm just using new vocabulary words because when we look at graphs, that y-intercept is going to pop. The slope of the line is going to help us rise over fall, rise over run. And so that m is going to help us there too. So that's why I want to make sure we hear slope and y-intercept. Okay, so we have $3 to pick up a passenger. We have $2.50 for each mile. One of them is a one-time fee. One of them is not a one-time fee, but for every and each mile. That sounds like multiplication to me. So when I've got my y equals mx plus b, let's see how you did. Did you say that it took $3 to get in before I got started? And then it's going to cost me $2.50 each mile? So 2.5x plus 3. So if we wouldn't have gone through this word problem, the majority of my students would have only done this and stopped. And that's where I need to pause and make sure they see it's got 3 parts. I had to do the equation, but did I label what the slope was and what my y-intercept was? I didn't. And that's where we have to make sure we focus and we point out how many parts it has, how many questions it's asking before I pull out my numbers and my data. Okay, so that's why it's good to slow down with just words. So my slope is what's going to happen each mile, every person, per customer, whatever's repeating. That's what's going to be my slope or my rate of change. Good. Did you say your slope was $2.50, right? $2.50 a mile. Awesome. Okay, so what's going to be my y-intercept? My y-intercept, yeah, that's going to be my $3 to pick up a person. Awesome. Look at your notes. If you need to pause my video to fix anything in your notebook, by all means, please do that. Because this is what we're focusing on today. Can we find our y-intercept? Can we find our slope? So there was a word problem, right? Let's see what else I have in store for you on the next slide. Here we have a table. And let's see if it's the same scenario. Remember we talked about day 1, when my x is 0, whatever my y is becomes my what? My y-intercept, because on my graph, x is 0, it's going to be on the y-axis. Okay? Good. So that's my perfect starting place. So here tells me my y-intercept is 3. So let's see if we can find our slope. Okay? And we can easily do that by our equation that I showed you last time. So if I say this is x1 and y1, this is x2 and y2, let's plug it in our formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is going to give me my slope. So I'm going to have 5.5 minus 3 over 1 minus 0. So my y, 5.5 minus 3 is going to be 2.5. 1 minus 0 is 1, and that's going to simplify to 2.5. Well, we have the same y-intercept as 3. My slope is 2.5. So we had our word problem. We had our table. Guess what I have left? You ready for this? Here's my graph. All right, let's see if the graph gives me the same answer. So we're graphing, and if you notice, my y-intercept is intersecting through y. Where does it go? It starts on the 3. I love graphs. I love graphs because it's just right there in front of you, right in front of you. Where is it on the y? 3. There's your y-intercept. That's going to be my b. My b is 3, and that rhymes. Okay, now let's talk about our slope. Our slope, we're going to go rise over run. Now, this is what I suggest. I know it's 2.5 because we've already done it twice. I'm not going to guess what that is. Nope. I'm going for this one right here because it's clear. Okay? It's clear to go to this point. So check this out. We're going to go up to an 8. So 3 to an 8 is 5. I rose up 5. So my slope is going to be up 5. And then watch, I'm going to make a right triangle. I'm going to go over. Make sure you look down here to see what this number is. Because you might think, oh my gosh, but look, I go over 4. Nope, I don't go over 4. Look where I'm at. 2. So if I go over 2, well, then we just get to divide. 5 divided by 2 gives me a 2.5. And when I plug them back into my equation, like we've been doing, y equals mx plus b, my slope is 2.5. Oh, my board moved. That was weird. My slope is 2.5. X plus my y-intercept is 3. Same equation that we had, and we've seen it through a word problem. We went through a table, and we went through a graph. Good job, guys. We did a lot, didn't we? But do you notice it feels like we've done it before, right? Good. We're just using different words, right? All right. So let's look at these two questions. Looking at my equation, I want you to tell me what is let's do one question at a time. We'll start here. What is the slope and y-intercept of this equation? Pause and answer. Okay, let's see how you did. This one should have been easy for you, right? Because your slope is right here, 3/4. So my slope is 3/4. And 3/4 is easy. I don't want you to be afraid of fractions because fractions, they're our friends. All that means is up 3 over 4. Give me a fraction to graph any day. Give me a fraction to complete a table any day because fractions are super easy. What's my y-intercept? Good, 5. Okay, that one was easy. Let's try this one. Here we go. Oh, I can get rid of this now. Write an equation for the table of values and explain how you got your answer. Pause my video and write your equation and explain. Go. 3, 2, 1. Did you pause? Did I give you enough time? Okay, let's see. Hopefully, you found your y-intercept right there. When x is 0, y is 2. So my y-intercept is automatically 2. Okay? All right. Now, let's see if we can find our slope. Did you use your equation? Let's see. I'm going to use the equation. x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's plug it in. We've got y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I get 5 minus 2 over 1 minus 0. And I get 3 over 1. Silly. 3 divided by 1 is 3. So my slope is 3. I'm going to show you one other way without the formula to find your slope. It's the same exact thinking because you're subtracting still in your head, but you don't realize it. I'd rather add any day than subtract. So check this out. How am I going from 2 to 5? What are you adding? 3. 5 to 8 plus 3. 8 to 11 plus 3. 11 to 14 plus 3. Yep. Okay. Now let's look at the top. Our x's, we're doing what? How are we adding? Plus 1 and then plus 1. Good. See how there's a pattern here. Now this is the secret. You have to make sure your y is over x. So look at your y. Your y is 3, and my x is 1. Did we not just get a 3 over 1 equals 3? Same exact method. One is subtracting, one you're subtracting in your head by adding. So either way you want to use it works for me. All right, now let's write our equation. Y equals mx plus b. So mx plus b. All right, good job today, guys. Good work. So till next time, have a great day. Bye.